What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the show. This is a 2023 Harley Davidson Pan America. It's my favorite motorcycle on the road today, period. Full stop, end of story. And with that, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Roll the outro. Okay guys, obviously I'm joking around. I am doing a full day in the saddle on this Harley Pan America right here. This bike I actually got from Cowboy Harley Davidson here in Austin. They were like, why don't you take a Pan Am for 2 days and see what you come up with? And for those of you who know my history with this motorcycle, I've done cross-country tours on it, I've taken it off-road, I've been to Sturgis on it. This is, without a doubt, my favorite motorcycle in production today, period. It is. Now real quick, before we hit the road, this video is sponsored by Flying Eyes. A big shout out to them for supporting the channel. They are a longtime partner and I love working with them. They make some really, really awesome sunglasses. In fact, I'm gonna put these on, it's bright as hell outside. They fit really, really nicely under your helmet. They've got a bunch of different frame styles, a bunch of different lens styles. They've got RX ready frames. So if you're one of those folks who has to wear glasses when they ride because they don't like contacts, Flying Eyes has something covered for you. All of that information is down in the links below. You can get yourself 10% off your order by using the code SPITE and save yourself a little bit of cash and support the channel at the same time. With that being said, time to go hit the road. Let's have some fun on this frickin' bike and see what it's all about. Okie dokie pokies. So real quick, again, this is more of a review for the kind of curious Harley rider, somebody out there who's on a big twin, who's more interested in seeing what the new Pan Am is like. So with that in mind, what's the first thing that you notice about the Pan America when you get on it? Well, it's gotta be the power. Wow, does this thing make a ton of power. But it's not the kind of power you're used to. So this thing, if I remember correctly off the top of my head, and we're gonna dive more into the specs here later, this bike is making like 94 foot-pounds of torque. Now that's a pretty prodigious number, and anybody who's riding a sport bike down in the comments can tell you that 94 foot-pounds of torque is a ton. But you're used to more if you're on a cruiser. You're on, you know, like the 117 makes like 125 foot-pounds of torque or something like that, and the 114 is pretty close to like 110 or something like that. Like that's a ton of torque, and it's really down low. So you end up short shifting so you can stay in that like fat, juicy mid-range torque on the Harley. This thing, the torque gets you into the horsepower, right? You have to rev this motorcycle through its power band to really, really feel the power. Like, let's say for example, you get on this, you might be a little underwhelmed at first by the power if you stay below 5,500 RPM. Once you get it north of that though, Jesus, this thing boogies. It goes like a stabbed rat. And it helps that it's lighter than the average Harley. I think it's like 530 pounds, something like that. But the next thing you're gonna notice is with all that power comes amazing brakes on this thing. The brakes on the Pan Am, shoe buddy, they're great. They're these big, fat, stonking Brembos. And I believe they're linked front and rear, so you get like 30 or 50% of the rear brake when you hop on the front. Because yeah, I step on it and it definitely feels like the brake is engaged there. If they're not, there'll be a thing on screen. But the brakes, they stop this bike in a hurry. So let's see here. Once this corner straightens out, I got nobody behind me, so I'm gonna do a quick little brake check. And the biggest thing that I remember from my time on this is just how quickly the bike stops. So we've got kind of a busted up section of street here, going 45 miles an hour, nothing. Like the bike will basically do an endo for you. It's so powerful. And that front ABS works great. It's surprisingly great. Last thing, the suspension. Oh my God, the semi-active suspension is so nice on this bike. you know, you might be used to dialing up some preload knobs and stuff in the back, or like changing your preload collar, just like the 5-click method on some like Softails and stuff. But on here, you never have to worry. You could have 1,000 cheeseburgers for lunch, load this thing for bear with cross-country touring gear, do it all, and the bike is just going to compensate for you. But one of the cool things about owning a Pan America is when the road ends, you can keep going, because this thing is an adventure bike. So let's go find some dirt and see how it handles. Okay, so we are officially where the road has ended, and there's some cool things about this bike that I really enjoy. First of all, you can take the rubber inserts out really easily. Super duper convenient to be able to do that. And you just chuck them in there. If this were my bike, since the passenger pegs and the rider pegs are the same, I would just take one off and then leave these on here, because I never ride two up. Another thing you can do, flip the pegs so it's standing a little higher. Okay, so that was a little bit of off-road setup, but let me show you the magic here with the off-road mode. And for those of you who are wondering, oh, well, the semi-active suspension, does it actually do anything? Watch how much bounce you get out of the bike, right? There's not much there, but if I go to the off-road mode, the suspension immediately feels very different. Very pliable. So it actually is doing stuff. All right, let's have some fun, shall we? Oh man, the ergos are so borked because the handlebars are so low right now. Oh, that's just set up right out of the box. Oh, it's got so much torque, it's delicious. Freaking love this thing. Although it is hard for me to ride it with the bars so low. I do know that HD has in their catalog, they've got bar risers, and you can twist the handlebars to raise them a little bit. One thing that I can say about this motorcycle is that it is just so confidence inspiring off-road. Admittedly, it's very tough for me to ride it right now. You can hear I'm out of breath just from the position I was in. Very hard for me to ride like that. However, one of the cool things, there's a hidden mode on this motorcycle. So if you're in dirt mode and you press and hold mode, you get purple mode. This is Off-Road Plus, and it disables rear wheel ABS and basically limits the electronic intervention, so you can really light up that rear tire. It's a lot of fun to ride an Off-Road Pro or Plus. I think there's Off-Road Plus and Pro, I don't remember. But anyway, yeah, in purple mode, it really feels great. It's like putting the Touareg in its limited traction control mode. You can really make this bike start moving. Oh, I love this thing. It shifts its weight remarkably well. I haven't been on a big adventure bike that handles quite like this thing does. Even with the like light duty touring tires that are on here, they're like 80/20s or like 90/10s. The thing feels great. Let's pull this thing over before I spend too much more time goofing around, and let's talk some specs on this machine and get it out on the highway, because otherwise I'm just gonna turn laps in the dirt all day long. Okie dokie, so some specifications on the Harley Davidson right here. You can tell I'm actually having a really fun time doing this. 150 horsepower and 94 foot-pounds of torque out of a 1252cc V-twin. That is quite the reversal from Harley Davidson. Usually it's like 1900 cc's and 94 horsepower and like 120 foot-pounds of torque. So it's really great to see a really just truly modern engine from the motor company. It is worth pointing out though, there is no way all 150 ponies are hitting the back wheel. This thing feels about like 135, maybe 130 horsepower. It's just, it doesn't feel like it's giving you that full 150 horsepower. I've felt 150, this doesn't feel like that. However, another good number, 535 pounds is shipped. That's the claimed number. I actually have not found reliable numbers on what these things truly weigh. I've seen anywhere from 530 to 560 pounds. So this is a heavy adventure bike. However, it is right on par with the rest of the flagship ADV bikes, and that's awesome. For their first at bat making an adventure bike to come in competitive with the rest of the market, great job, Harley. Now, I'll go into more detail about all of this in the highway section, but there is a full suite of electronics on here, including a ride height device and electronic suspension. This is semi-active, which means that it will adjust when the bike is stopped, and it will adjust based on the modes. It will not adjust based on road conditions. That's different from, say, your top shelf Olin suspension that you see in like the Tuono or something like that. Now, mounting up here on the Pan America, the seat height is 32 inches. Now, that is a big number, especially for somebody who's a little bit shorter. You can see with a 32-inch inseam, I've got a very soft bend in the knee. This seat is actually pretty wide, and that's pushing my feet out a little further. It is worth pointing out, though, this bike has the ride height device. Like I mentioned before, if you turn it on, it's going to squat down for you, just like that. You're not gonna see too much of a difference when you're actually riding, but in terms of getting on the bike, big difference. And I'm gonna talk about it a little bit more later on. Also worth pointing out, you can lower this seat right here. Talk more about that later. Standing accommodations. This is an adventure bike. We gotta talk about standing. Out of the box for somebody who is 6'4" like I am, this is not right. This ain't gonna do it. I can raise the handlebars a good bit, actually. They're quite low, and I can raise them up, but I will still also need bar risers if I want to be in the right spot. I want to basically be here, and I need just a little bit longer of a handlebar. There's a good sweep in here, but for most folks, this is gonna work totally fine. Now, hopping off the bike and talking pros and cons really fast. There's a lot to go over, so I'm gonna just keep this nice and brief. This bike is awesome. Like I said, my favorite motorcycle on the road. The engine is great. What it represents for Harley is awesome. I love it. However, it's not perfect. Don't like this windscreen. We'll talk about that more in a second, but does an okay job. I also really hate the kickstand on this motorcycle. That seems like a really weird quibble, but I don't like it. It really just, it does the two-stage Harley thing where you put it down and you feel like, okay, it's good, and then you set it down all the way. It's also hard to get the kickstand up when the ride height device lowers. You actually need to kick the bike over, then raise the kickstand, then stand it back up. Another thing I hate about the Pan America, and I cannot stand that it still ships with this. I hate this. Harley, stop it. Do not do this no more. No, not allowed. This is bad. The reason why they put this on here is because they're worried about you going over the handlebars and breaking your wrists on bark busters. But I've never, ever heard of anybody doing that. This is just cheapo plastic. I want a real bark buster on here, especially at $20,000 for the S model. I really want a solid bark buster. This is dumb. Another thing blows my mind that's on this motorcycle. Down there, you can actually see the reg rec sticking out of the skid plate, and it's right behind the front wheel. Where are all of the rocks gonna go when they come off the rear wheel? Right into the reg rec. Come on, guys. I understand that there's a lot of stuff down low to help alleviate some of the weight on this motorcycle. That is a baffling decision, an absolutely baffling decision. Again, I can see why they did it, but the first thing I did with this motorcycle is take it off-road. I'm lucky a rock didn't hit that. I actually didn't notice that until I got off, because I've always seen the Pan Ams with the heavy-duty skid plate that covers that. But for that to be stock, that's rough bubbles. I don't love that. Now, with all of that being said, let's get the dirt glide out on the highway and see whether or not compete with the street and the road glides, because that's really what reigns supreme on an American highway, though not for long.
Now, admittedly, when I first got on the Pan America back in the day, the highway was one of the biggest question marks for me. I didn't have a ton of experience with ADV bikes back then, but I did know that they were more intended for like dirt riding, and so they made some street sacrifices, and I wondered if highway performance was going to be one of those sacrifices. Suffice it to say, the answer is no. This thing is an excellent touring machine. I have actually taken one of these from California back to Austin. I rode from San Diego up to Fresno, spent a night with my buddy, and then I rode to Flagstaff, then I went through Albuquerque and Roswell, and then I knocked out Roswell to Austin in a single day. This thing just absolutely munches miles, man. Now, there are a couple of things that I do want to point out on here. As I mentioned before, this windscreen doesn't do a great job of kicking the wind over my head. When I was going like 90 miles an hour on the highway cross country and I was just keeping it pinned, the wind had a tendency to just sort of be patting the top of my head, and I didn't like that. You can go one notch higher, but it actually lowers the windscreen a little bit. I'm not sure if you can see that, but it's like lowering it just a smidgen in the fully upright position. So I actually like it one down. If this were my bike, I would get a slightly taller version of this. I believe it's a parts and accessories deal, but I'm also sure there's some in the aftermarket. It is also worth pointing out that they're designed to break away. I've actually broken one of these on a Pan America, and they're really easy to replace. Now, as we're coming to a stop, I can't show you this piece of tech, but I can talk about it. The bike lowered itself automatically by about an inch. Now, it does that so steadily and so unobtrusively that you never notice. I've never, ever noticed the ride height change on this motorcycle unless you turn it on. When you turn it on, if you pull the suspension up, it stays springed up, but that's the actual technical term, by the way, is springed up. When you turn the ignition on, it lowers, it squats, and you can feel it. But that's the only time you can actually feel the ride height. And that's awesome. It means that people who are shorter can get on this bike, and it does have a two-stage lowering seat. You can just, it's in the top position now. You just take the rear seat off and click the thing into the lower position, and it drops it like either an inch or a half an inch. It drops it a significant amount. Okie dokie, let's talk a little bit about tech here. So obviously this thing comes fully loaded. Cruise control, it's got the steering damper, which helps keep the thing straight even on higher speeds or rougher roads. We've got a bazillion different rider modes on here. Rain, road, sport, dirt, dirt plus, and then 2 customizable ride modes. And every time I get on a Pan America, I always set up ride mode A the exact same way. I give it the full sport throttle and engine mapping, and then I set the suspension to comfort. That's how I like to ride the thing on the highway. I like to be able to go balls to the wall, but I like to be able to have the softer suspension. And you can do that on this thing. That is so freaking cool. I love that this is so tunable to your riding style. Now, there are a couple of things I do want to talk about. It's not all sunshine and rainbows. If you have the Anarchy Wild tires, the Anarchy Wilds are the knobbies, at about 45 miles an hour and again at about 80, there's a very noticeable lurch in the front tire. It's not a tire imbalance. That's what I first thought. Every single Pan America I've ridden with the Yannicki Wilds does that at 45 and 80 miles an hour. Don't know why. And it goes away a little bit if you soften the suspension, which is part of the reason why I set up custom mode A the way I do. But it definitely gets annoying, especially in sport mode. Is it as comfortable as, say, a road glide or a street glide? Maybe not. Maybe not for like 8 hours. But you know, for an all-day ride, I'm more than happy with this thing. Now, let's pull this bike over and answer some Discord questions about ye olde Pan Am here, and see if we can't help the Discord boys understand some stuff a little better.
Alrighty folks, it is now time for my favorite part of the Day in the Saddle series, and that is answering Discord questions. If you want to participate in this, all you got to do is click the links down in the description below. Check out the Patreon where you can support the channel and join the Discord. All the information links down below. Okay, Corgi asking the first question, how does it compare to the Versus 650? Dude, there's no comparison. This thing just takes a big old dump all over the cowie. But they're not in the same category, so I would expect it to. Sir Brapsalot asks, which would you rather crash in the desert, the Pan America or the R1250 GS? As somebody who has crashed both this and an R1250 GS in the desert, I can say that I would rather crash this, although I did do some horrible things to a BMW GS, and while it had 1,000 error codes, it still kept going. So there is something to be said for that BMW reliability. AF Merce asking one that follows in the same vein. We all know this one was coming, but the GS is a popular ADV choice, kind of the standard. How does the American Pan Am stand up against it? I will take this every day over a GS. Just for the sound alone. I really don't like the sound of the GS engine. I don't like the way it feels. This is just a traditional V-twin. I love this bike. And the GS is gigantic. And everybody has a GS. Not everybody has a Pan America. Dare to be different, guys. Very good question here from Mr. Banderson. Mr. Banderson. He asks, since I've ridden the Sportster S and the Pan America, which both have the same engine, although theoretically the Sportster S is detuned, how do they feel back to back? Honestly, in Sturgis, I rode them back to back, and to be frank, the Sportster S felt faster. Same 94 foot-pounds of torque, but it comes on a little earlier, and the torque band is really wide and juicy. This thing makes its higher horsepower at a higher RPM, and you really got to wind it out to feel it. Like I said earlier, I don't feel like it's getting all 150 ponies to the ground, and I feel like the Sportster S is a lot more true to its claimed numbers. Next are on the Discord, Short Person is asking the hard-hitting question for short people. How short can you be on the Pan America? Well, it depends. It really depends. Are you comfortable putting 1 foot on the ground? Because if you are, you can actually get away with being pretty dang short on this bike. The seat, between lowering the seat and the ride height device in here, it'll drop somewhere like, I think it's below 30 inches. It's like 29 or something like that. It gets really low, which is super cool. It makes adventure bikes more accessible to different kinds of riders. Love that. 186 miles per hour on bald tires asks, is the Pan Am the greatest adventure bike ever made? And because the answer is yes, why is the Pan Am the best adventure bike that's ever been made? Well, that leaves me a good segue into getting this thing back out and wrapping up my thoughts, but suffice it to say, while this is my favorite adventure bike and my favorite motorcycle period, it is not the best adventure bike ever made. I would love to say that it is, but I'm not. That would be a lie. So let's hit the road and talk about why.
All right, so let's get back to that central idea that I started this video out with. You're that Harley rider who is interested in checking this motorcycle out, or maybe you're curious about it, why Harley strayed so far from what they're really good at. And I hate to say it, guys, this is the future of Harley Davidson. Now, I'm going to pat you on the head here and say, HD will never stop making cruisers. Never in a million years will you walk into a Harley Davidson dealership and not be able to buy a Road Glide. You just won't. That won't happen. Maybe it has this engine in it, but it's still going to be the touring frame Harley that you want. But I highly urge you, if you haven't ridden one of these motorcycles yet, you hadn't had the opportunity, make it happen. Go test the demo bike at your dealership and see what this thing is all about. Because I guarantee you, it will change your perception of what Harley Davidson is capable of. And if you saw my video from last week, which was basically an open letter to Harley Davidson, being like, get your together, Harley, come on. You know how passionate I am about the brand and how much they can do when they put their mind to it. And this is just the culmination of years of hard work, and I love it. I love it. It means so much to me as somebody who started on a modern era liquid cooled Harley to see them continue doing that. Now, let me just kind of summarize some of my thoughts here on the bike, start wrapping things up. The best way that I can describe it is, and I'm going to get nerdy here for a second. If you've ever seen Avatar or The Legend of Korra, think about Appa or Naga, the like spirit companion pals that hang out with the Avatar. They get real mean when they need to be, but they're just generally these really nice animals that hang out and, you know, help carry them around. That's the attitude that the Pan Am has, man. Even in sport mode, it can be so chill. Like, I just don't feel like it's ever gonna get away from me unless I ask it to. You know, if I really want to get after it, it'll haul the mail in ways that I'm not capable of handling. Totally incapable of handling everything this motorcycle is capable of, both on-road and off. However, you know, if you want to, you just chill out. And this motorcycle will get you from point A to point B. You're going to be comfortable, you're going to be cozy, and it's just got that, it's got this like companion-esque quality where it just wants to go have an adventure. And I love that. I love that feeling. And I never thought I would get that from a Harley Davidson. Blows my mind. Freaking love this bike. And I don't know, man. I've really heed and hawed about buying one myself. There are some that I've found, specials from 22, that are loaded, and they're only like $15,500, which admittedly is a lot of cash, and it's more cash than I've ever thought about spending on a motorcycle. But this is the first Harley Davidson where I look at the price tag and I'm like, yep, that is 100% reasonable. No, like, full stop. It's 100% reasonable. This bike is priced perfectly. Harley came in so competitive with this bike. And that's just another reason why I want to reward the good behavior here. I really do. I just don't know if I have the finances to back a motorcycle like this. It will one day, 100%, one day, there will be a Pan America in my stable because I just love it too much. I love this bike. Literally everything about it. I freaking love it. There's a little dirt patch right back there that I just want to go through. And this bike just has the sense of adventure and wonder about it. Love that. All right, off-road pro mode, please. Thank you. Yeah, let's go, bike. Come on. Oh, they paved it. Oh, no. No, this was dirt last time I was here. Oh, that wounds me to my core. Oh, no. Oh, I just want to go on an adventure. Oh. So sad. What a bummer. What a bummer. But, you know what? I don't even care. This bike is just too much fun. Well, guys, with all of that being said, I'm gonna call it a day. A huge shout out to the folks at Cowboy Harley Davidson for lending me this bike for a couple of days to make some of that juicy contents for you. And also, huge shout out to Flying Eyes for sponsoring all the silliness that you see out here. They're a huge reason why I can do what I do. So click that link down below. Spite will get you 10% off your order. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. See you later. Oh, I can't believe they paved this hill. It's such a bummer. This was a great little hill. Get it, Pan Am.